The evening of October 24th will forever be etched in the memories of Oakwood Heights residents. It was a typical Tuesday, with kids finishing up their homework and families settled into their evening routines. But beneath the facade of tranquility, a horror unfolded at 123 Smith Street. The unassuming two-story dwelling, home to the Johnson family for over a decade, was about to become the site of one of the most heinous crimes in Oakwood Heights history. At approximately 9:47 p.m., neighbors reported hearing a loud commotion emanating from the residence. It wasn't until police arrived on the scene at 10:02 p.m. that they discovered the unthinkable, 41-year-old mother, Sarah Johnson, lying lifeless in her bedroom. Her husband, 43-year-old John, was found bound and gagged in the basement, a chilling testament to the brutality of the crime. As investigators combed through the property, they uncovered a tangled web of clues pointing to a meticulously planned attack. It wasn't until forensic analysis revealed an eerie, handwritten message scrawled on the kitchen wall that the full extent of the tragedy began to surface: "You'll never find me." The cryptic note sent shivers down the spines of detectives and local residents alike. The Johnsons' 12-year-old daughter, Emily, was nowhere to be found. Fears for her safety were compounded by a disturbing discovery in the attic: a hastily packed suitcase, seemingly abandoned mid-vacation packing frenzy. It was as if Emily had vanished into thin air, leaving behind only whispers of terror and foreboding. As Oakwood Heights struggled to come to terms with this heinous crime, one question echoed through the streets: who could commit such an unspeakable act in broad daylight? The answers would take investigators down a dark rabbit hole, revealing secrets and lies that had been hidden beneath the veneer of suburban perfection. At 9:45 p.m. on that fateful Tuesday, police received a frantic call from a neighbor claiming to have heard screams emanating from the residence. Responding officers found the front door wide open, with no signs of forced entry or struggle. As they cautiously entered the home, they were met with an eerie silence. It was then that Detective Jameson, a seasoned veteran of the Oakwood Heights PD, made the gruesome discovery. Inside 123 Smith Street, the detectives found 35-year-old Sarah Johnson, a loving wife and mother of two, brutally murdered in her living room. A single bullet wound to the chest had ended her life, with no indication of a struggle or signs of forced entry. The house itself was spotless, with no signs of disarray or disturbance. Further investigation revealed that the victim's husband, John Johnson, had been working late at his office on the night of the murder. His alibi checked out, and neighbors reported seeing him leave for work around 5 p.m. earlier that evening. However, a review of the couple's security footage showed an unidentified person entering the residence around 9:30 p.m., roughly 15 minutes before the call to police. This chilling revelation sparked a whirlwind of activity as investigators combed through every inch of the property, searching for any shred of evidence that could point to the perpetrator. Forensic teams collected DNA samples from various surfaces, while experts analyzed the security footage frame by frame in search of any distinguishing features. As the investigation continued, it became clear that 123 Smith Street was no ordinary crime scene. The lack of signs of struggle or forced entry suggested a calculated and ruthless killer, one who had deliberately left no fingerprints, hair samples, or other identifying markers behind. But what could have driven someone to commit such a heinous act in this otherwise tranquil suburban neighborhood? As police investigators arrived at the scene, they were met with a gruesome sight that would haunt them for years to come. The front door of 123 Smith Street was ajar, its wooden frame splintered from forced entry. Inside, officers found the lifeless body of Emily Wilson, a 35-year-old wife and mother of two. Her husband, James, reported her missing earlier that evening after she failed to return home from work. A closer examination of the property revealed a trail of bloodstains leading from the foyer into the living room. The carpet was torn, and furniture was overturned as if there had been a violent struggle. A kitchen drawer lay open, its contents scattered across the floor: coffee filters, a bread knife, and a small notebook belonging to Emily. The notebook proved to be a crucial piece of evidence. Notes scribbled in haste and desperation revealed a stalker's obsession with Emily. The writer claimed to have been watching her for months, monitoring her every move. A string of cryptic messages was scattered throughout the entries, referencing a project that needed to come to fruition. Further investigation led police to a suspect, 32-year-old neighbor, Alex Chen. He had a history of stalking and had been known to have an unhealthy fixation on Emily. Surveillance footage revealed him lurking around the property on multiple occasions, always keeping a safe distance but never backing down. As detectives dug deeper into Alex's background, they discovered a disturbing pattern of behavior that spanned years. The evidence suggested a calculated and meticulous approach to his obsession, one that would ultimately lead to unimaginable horror for Emily Wilson and her loved ones. As we delve deeper into the crime scene at 123 Smith Street, a disturbing pattern begins to emerge. The brutality of the attack, coupled with the seemingly random selection of its victim, has left investigators scratching their heads for answers. But what if the truth lies not in the perpetrator's motivations, but in the environment itself? A closer examination of the property reveals a history of neglect and disrepair. Multiple complaints filed by neighbors highlight chronic issues with pest control, mold infestation, and faulty electrical wiring. It's not hard to imagine how these conditions could contribute to a sense of unease and foreboding. Furthermore, records show that the owner of 123 Smith Street, 35-year-old Rachel Kim, has been embroiled in a heated dispute with her landlord over maintenance issues. This toxic living situation may have taken a devastating toll on Kim's mental health, creating an atmosphere ripe for exploitation by those with malicious intent. But what about the victim? We know that 27-year-old David Lee was visiting Kim at the time of the attack. Was he simply in the wrong place at the wrong time, or were there connections between the two men that we have yet to uncover? As investigators continue to sift through evidence, they must consider not just the individual circumstances surrounding this tragedy but also the broader implications for public safety and housing policy. How many more cases like 123 Smith Street are out there, waiting to be uncovered? And what steps can be taken to prevent future catastrophes from unfolding in our own neighborhoods? The aftermath of this heinous crime has already sparked a heated debate about the responsibility of property owners and landlords towards their tenants. But for some families, particularly those who lost loved ones that fateful night, it's too little, too late. As we delve deeper into the heart of 123 Smith Street, a sense of unease settles over us. The air is thick with the weight of tragedy, and it's clear that something has been left unsaid about this fateful night in October. On the surface, the crime scene appears to be a typical suburban tragedy, a young family torn apart by violence, leaving behind a trail of devastation in its wake. But scratch beneath the surface, and a more sinister narrative begins to emerge. Eyewitness accounts reveal that the streets of Oakwood Heights were eerily quiet on the evening of October 25. No one reported hearing any signs of struggle or commotion emanating from 123 Smith Street until it was too late. The first call to the authorities didn't come until after midnight, when a frantic neighbor reported seeing lights flickering erratically in the windows. As investigators began to survey the crime scene, they discovered a shocking array of details that would go on to haunt them for months to come. In the kitchen, a lone glass shattered on the tile floor, its fragments scattered like tiny shards of hope. On the living room wall, a cryptic message scrawled in red ink seemed to mock the investigators' every step: "You'll never find me." It was as if the perpetrator had intentionally left behind a trail of breadcrumbs, taunting the authorities with each new revelation. As we piece together the events leading up to that fateful night, one name keeps surfacing: Emily Wilson, 28-year-old wife and mother of two. According to police records, Emily had been experiencing marital troubles in the months preceding the tragedy. Her husband, David, a former Marine with a history of aggression, had been at odds with his wife over their finances and living arrangements. It's here that the narrative takes a dark and unexpected turn. A cryptic phone record reveals a series of mysterious calls between Emily and an unknown number, just days before the murders. The recipient's identity remains a mystery, but one thing is certain: this sinister conversation would prove to be a turning point in the investigation, forever altering the course of events at 1:23